night in the Middle East. The war between Israel and Hamas now in its third day. Back here in Washington, the White House is confronting the devastating reality that 11 Americans, at least, are among the dead. And American hostages are believed to be among the many inside Gaza. We did hear from President Biden on Saturday. This has been all-consuming for the commander-in-chief and his administration, as you might imagine. But for the second day in a row, we will not hear from or see the President of the United States. In fact, before the lunch hour here in Washington, the White House alerted reporters that we would not get a glimpse of the president today. Morgan, you have a long history in this region, and with the ongoings there, you were in Iraq during the Obama administration, Bush administration, in Saudi Arabia during the Obama administration, State Department spokesperson during the Trump administration. Peel the curtain back for a little for us here. What is it like inside, or what do you think it's like inside the White House and the State Department right now? And what do you think they should be doing right now that they're not? Let's start, though, with that first question.
You know, anytime you're in these positions of power and authority in the U.S. government and you have Americans lose their life, especially in some sort of terrorist attack, it's gut-wrenching because you don't have time to have the emotions that you want to have. I remember in January of 2020, after we got Qasem Soleimani, the world's largest terrorist at the time, who was, of course, Iranian. After we got him, we knew, you know, there was this sort of moment where you thought, okay, we got this terrorist, but then you knew what was coming immediately afterwards. And we immediately had to switch to being prepared for what would happen to our troops in Iraq and our troops in Syria. And just knowing that you were waiting, that people might be in harm's way, that's a devastating feeling. I will tell you, you know, my heart at the moment, I don't want to be overly political about this. I have people who work for me whose friends lost lives in Israel. I am Jewish. Half my temple, I think, has children in the IDF or people, friends and family in Israel. It has consumed my family and social and work circles, and it's incredibly personal for me. But I will say, most importantly, as an American, we have 11 Americans that are dead. We have an untold number of hostages. We have at least probably 200,000 Americans, 200,000 that live in Israel or were visiting there. Some may have trouble getting out. And this is a moment when we need to hear from our president. We need to see our president. We need to hear from our vice president.
You think that's at the top of the you think that's at the top of the list of what the White House should be doing at this point in time?
All of us at this table are old enough to remember after 9/11 when George W. Bush got out there with that bullhorn. I was in college and I was so scared, right? Our country had been attacked. But to see our president grab that bullhorn, or you think after President Obama got UBL and he went and gave that speech, UBL, Osama bin Laden. Yep. Sorry, I'm using military speak. But, you know, it was so important for us in that moment to hear from President Obama because that defined so much of the 2000s, the war on terror. And now it's, I just can't fathom how the president and the vice president haven't made a statement after Americans have been killed by terrorists.
You traveled the world, Johanna, in the Obama-Biden administration. Is it a mistake that we haven't heard from this president now 2 days in?
So first, I want to thank Morgan because I think that politics is like, you know, when you see people being raped and pillaged, a lot of these debates that we have in America, they're just not that important. You know, we need security, we need peace, we need freedom. The only issue I would say that's different here is that this situation is evolving and ongoing and seriously just so important that they get this right. And so I know that the White House, you know, struggles sometimes to communicate with the public right away, but I hope and pray and I trust that they are all hands-on dealing with the response on this, and that their next priority will be conveying to the American people what's going on. But when you have people, hostages, that are currently in the situation, you're trying to get them out, my guess is prepping President Biden for a address to the nation is not the top priority.
I think that we all have a little bit of PTSD because there's still Americans left behind in Afghanistan. And we saw what happened in that disastrous withdrawal. And so that's why when you sort of, in a way, it feels like history repeating itself again on the world stage from what happened in the fall of 2021 and in August of 2021. And that's why you think, okay, the White House had to have learned a lesson from the fall of Kabul with Americans still there and know that they need to get ahead of things.
And we heard Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.